Hey, all right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to another day of learning. So today we'll be delving into ASP.NET part 1. Yeah, so today will just be more of introduction to it, and everything we'll be doing is pure practical, pure demo. So there would be no to talk more about it. So I'll just leave that to you guys to go research more about it because of time. And we all know that August is our last month, and we need to cover so much ground, cover the basic that would um, help you out, that is going to guide you in creating proper APIs. Yeah, and to help you in your project. So what I would do now is going to talk briefly about ASP.NET and web APIs, right? So when we hear web APIs, what comes to our mind? Who can tell me? Web APIs, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear web APIs?
Okay, can I
Yeah,
speak?
you can go ahead.
Yeah. When we talk about web API, we speak about the way two parties communicate with one another. Let's say myself and Precious. I really want to interact with Precious. There are some languages that Precious do understand. And for me to properly connect with Precious or interact with Precious, I need to initiate with her with the language in which she understands. So web API is just like a standard way of communicating with from one system to another, in the sense of having that proper language in the space of getting, posting, updating, or deleting one thing or the other, from getting information from the server, just like the client getting information from the server. So this client needs to pass the proper language in which the server understands, so that he or she can be able to get the information that he or she needed.
Will I say you can't take over? Yes, wonderful. Well done. So to summarize what Samuel said, so we just basically, thank you very much. Yeah. So we have two things. When you hear of web APIs, we have the client and we have the server. The client sends a request, right, to the server to a medium, right, to a mediator that would process that request, then save it to the server, then get the response, send the response back to the client. So that mediator is more of the APIs that we create. We create different APIs to handle different kinds of requests. Okay, are we good?
Yes,
Hello?
I agree.
All right. So Visual Studio, the Visual Studio IDE provides us with many frameworks that helps us to do things, right? So we have frameworks. You know, how it works is front end is built using different frameworks like React. You use your VS Code to build the front end code and everything. While your APIs, you can use the Visual Studio to do that. But with this Visual Studio IDE, I don't need to go open up this my VS Code to create my front end. I can actually do everything in my Visual Studio. So there's a framework that helps us to do that, right? So there's a framework that helps us to do that. So let's go into the Visual Studio. I could just show us through what some of the frameworks. Can you see my Visual Studio?
Yeah.
All right, let
Yes.
me make it. Again. Okay. How about now? Can you see it now?
Not yet. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So this is my Visual Studio. So over here I have so many platforms, so many different kind of projects that helps me to build web applications and all. So for those who would want to go into building desktop applications, that's purely desktop Windows. So there is a framework that helps us to build desktop applications, and that is the WPF application. So WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation, it helps us to build desktop applications, right? So if you want to build, let's say, um, what kind of a WhatsApp application, there is a desktop application for WhatsApp. There's a WhatsApp application that's purely desktop. So all those desktop applications, if you're thinking of building that for a client, we use WPF for that, right? Then if you want to build your front end, your back end, your everything using this Visual Studio, there is what we can go for ESP.NET Core Web App. So this ESP.NET Core Web App has both the model view controller, model view. So this view incorporates all our front end libraries. Like in this, we can import or install React. We can use React. So everything can be done in this Visual Studio IDE, right? So if you want to do that, we'll go for this framework. But what we'll be doing in our 3 months in this class is purely APIs. Like we build only APIs that will be consumed by anyone. Like anyone can consume our APIs. So we'll be building just pure APIs. And there's a framework for that, which is the API, which is the ESP.NET Core Web API. So this is a project template for creating a RESTful web API using ESP.NET Core controllers and minimal APIs. And we'll get to understand more of this as we practice along. So this supports, it's a cross-platform. It supports C Sharp, Linux, Mac, Windows, API Cloud, Service Web, Web API. So all this can be done using this web API. So this is what we'll be using throughout the remaining part of our classes. Any question before I proceed? Are we good?
Sir, question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my question is, like you said, we are using ASP.NET Core Web API. So is it more of that? Is that one will be our back end, right?
Exactly. Yes, that's going to be
So
our backend.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Which one are we going to use for the front end, sir?
Okay. So there's this MVC. I barely use that because for my front end, I use VS Code to build my front end code
In
and
your
all.
Visual
But
Studio?
yeah, I use my VS Code for that. But if you want to do everything using Visual Studio, so there's this ESP.NET Core Web App model view controller. You can read up about that. So if you want to try it out, you use this
Yes.
model view controller for that.
Okay, so we can now select the view for the
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
front.
yeah. So the view contain all our front end, all the front end boiler templates code and all. Do you understand?
Yes, anyway, okay. I wanted to ask, how will you now link them? How will you now be seeing the API part?
That is the thing. Don't worry. Our class, what we are doing in these 3 months is APIs. How you will see them is another course of its own. That's front end now. But your
Yes.
job as a backend, you are doing a backend class. So your job is to build APIs and handle authentication. So that's what you should focus more on, and not bother
Okay.
yourself on how the front end will see that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Thanks. Okay, Samuel, go ahead.
Okay, I want to ask if this ASP.NET Web API REST API is boilerless template, like maybe there are some things that have been written before, or we
Yes,
are
yes,
starting.
yes, yes. No, there are things there. So we don't stress ourselves rewriting it. So I'll just explain what they are anyways. Then the other ones I'll just touch slightly on what they are. You
Okay,
can just
okay,
touch on it.
okay. I
Okay.
want to ask a quick questions regarding that. What's the advantage of starting at that point and starting from the scratch, and disadvantage as well? Can you just throw that to me, please?
Okay. Starting afresh. So the advantage, because for you beginning, right? If you are beginning, it's always good to build everything from scratch, like build everything from scratch, so as you get familiar with how everything was structured. But this now, except you want me to build everything from scratch, which because of time, that's why I want to use the template and explain along, which is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Then
sir. Please,
yeah, go ahead.
sir, please, just if you can start from the scratch so that we will understand it well.
Exactly.
The template is there. It's from the template. It's not
From the templates, yeah.
how I was taught is we use the template. Like there is nothing. If you want to start afresh, you will start doing some configurations,
Settings.
which might not be um sufficient, right? So it's just good to use the template, then follow along. Anywhere you don't understand, you just research on it. Yes. Because the template now comes, they have done all those configurations. So if you start afresh, it will take time. It's going to take time. You have to go and do some configurations and to connect them together. Do you get?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Can I proceed now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So we'll be using ASP.NET Core Web API. ASP.NET Core Web API. And what we'll be using for all through our classes is we'd use the tax management API. We'll still continue from that tax management. Okay. So we are going to name this tax management is going to be a tax management project. Tax management project. Okay. Then where do I need to save this? I need to save it here. This is the folder structure where you would save it, and list solution. Okay, that's it. I think everything is in order. Then choose the framework you're using, .NET 8. Yeah, nothing
We
to
are
touch
using,
there.
sorry. So
Yeah,
we
go
are
ahead.
using the same name, the solution with this I thought the solution name is supposed to be different from the project name.
Let me go back. Project name, tax management, solution name, tax management. When I create everything, then we'll do the changes. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right, thank you. Well done. Okay, so we are not changing anything here. So we just create. Do you want to overwrite existing solution with new solution with the specified name already exists on Dix? Okay, seems there is an application that is using this. So let me change the direction. Let me use another file path. It doesn't collide with let's me use okay, project. Okay, ASP. All right, so ASP is fine. So I'll just use ASP folder for that. So it's loading. All right. It's loading. All right, so this is what we have here. This is what we have here. I will close this. So if you've heard of, okay, let me just collapse this. This is the project. This is the solution, and this is the project. They have the same name,
So
but
your
So you're saying whiteboard.
oh, sorry. Okay, can you see it now?
yes.
All right, so this is what we have after creating the ASP.NET Web API. This is what we have. It comes with this. I will explain this right in a GP. I've collapsed this. Now we have the solution, we have the project. What I want to do, I know in most of my previous classes, how I teach is I do it there are two patterns to teaching, right? You teach it in a way that is as if you are writing spaghetti code, if you've heard of spaghetti or dirty way of writing a code, right? Doing everything in one file, right? So based on experience, I've discovered that it doesn't really work well. So it's just best to introduce the learners to a standard so they can just get used to that standard and go with it. You get? So that's what I want to do, right? So there's what we call architecture in programming. Yeah, there's what we call architecture in programming. We have different architectures. We have the popular ones is the clean architecture and yeah, domain and all. So what I use in most of my projects is I use more of the clean architecture, which focuses more on separation of concern and all. So this is how it works, right? Let me go to my whiteboard. So with clean architecture, you are able to structure your project into different layers, right? We have the API layer. So inside this API layer, it has everything that has to do with the APIs and all. Do you get? So this API, you can just see this API as a folder, right? As a folder. That's a folder. Okay. Then I can have another layer that would handle my database, like communication with the database logic. So this is another layer that just focuses more on database. The reason being is if I'm handling everything in one layer and I'm trying to maybe find error or debug, it is very, very stressful because this layer now would have so much to handle. Do you get? Hello?
No, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. So we are just trying as much as possible as programmers to adopt different architecture. Another reason why we draw more on architecture is we write code as a programmer. One thing you should know that the code you are writing, it should be readable for someone else, right? Do we get that?
Yes,
So
sir.
you don't just write a code purely for yourself. It's more like saying you are the only one that understands because you might be working in a company and you won't, it's not, you won't work in that company or you won't stay in that company for long. So if you are given a job to do in that company and to handle the backend and your code is messy and you finally leave the company, it's going to be stressful for the next person who would come to use your code and work on it because the person would find it difficult to even make changes to the code or do some changes because you didn't manage the structure properly. So we just try as much as possible to follow different architectures, you know. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to break our code into different structure. The first layer handles the APIs. second layer handles the database, right? Then we can also have another layer, right, that would handle tests. This test now, it's another concept which would be for our intermediate class. Yeah, it's going to be the intermediate class. Intermediate class, that's when we talk about test and all. So anything that has to do with testing, that's a layer for it. Are we all following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So what I would do now is how I usually do mine. Yours might be different. So how I do my own is I would create a folder, call it I'm going to create a folder, call it API. So everything that has to do with API will be here. Then for this one, I can name it to task management.api. Do you get? Then move this one into here. So meaning it's simple. Do you get?
Yes.
If I want to implement or add testing to my project, I could just simply create a folder for it, then call it test. Then everything that has to do with test, I create a library under the test that will take care of, focus more on testing, writing test cases for my project. Do you get?
Yes.
So please, I
Now,
did not get.
What's the test for? Like, what's the meaning?
sorry, test is, as a programmer, I didn't want to go into that because of time. Okay, in a nutshell now, the code you write, let's say you're writing a logic for addition of two numbers, 5 plus 5 equal to 10, right? So
Yes.
as a programmer, you need to be able to write tests for every logic you implement, right? The reason for writing tests for every logic you implement is because a time will come when you might go back to the implementation or go back to that same logic and try to do some changes. And it is very possible that after doing those changes, you will break a code. Do you understand what I say when I say break a code?
Yes,
Because
sir.
all of these are terminologies you would hear more often. So when someone say break a code, it means something that was working before is no longer working again,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because of the changes you have made. So the reason for having a test is, let's say you go back to your implementation and you make a change, or you make a change. Before you push that work to production, you must run your test to make sure nothing broke. That's the
Yeah.
usefulness of test. Without the test, you will not know if the change you made actually has broken a code or not. And it's not going to make sense if you made a change and the code break it, you now push it to production, then the end users now start complaining that, hey, this thing is not working, or this thing is not working, or that's not good now, that's not nice, right?
Yes.
Great. So test helps us to tell if our code is in order due to a change that has been made. There are other benefits of writing tests, which I'll just leave that to you to go and read up, but that's not in our scope for our classes. All right, Abdul. Yeah, go ahead, Abdul Salam.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, my question is that from your explanation is that what you are trying to explain about there is that okay, before we push or before we
Push to production.
push the production, we need to test whether the
Yeah,
code is running properly or not. And is there a special okay? Is there a record or maybe before we push, it will save the previous data or because the way you are talking as if there is
well done,
separate
sir.
code for test, there is a separate code for testing, or there is not a separate code for testing, or you just use that to as an explanation when you are explaining it.
Okay, for every test you make, right, you create the addition logic. So that addition logic or that method you have created for that handles addition, you always go to the test, you write a test for that logic. Every logic you implement, there should be a test that will be used to test that logic. The testing, now this testing is a concept, it's a big concept on its own. I would not want to spend much time on it, okay?
Okay, so
Yeah, thank you. My boss don't talk TDD. Okay. Okay, where was I?
also, are you
So,
going to be showing us how to be doing the testing, even if you not go deep in it?
now you have not understood API. You want to go into test. No, it doesn't work that way. Just one step at a time. Just focus. This API is another whole, big concept too. So just take your time with the APIs. Then now go into test. Okay.
Okay, sir. Awesome.
All right. So we have the API that handles the API layer that handles everything about APIs and other API related stuff. Test layer handles the test related implementation. Now you'll be wondering, how about the domains? How about the models? Where are we going to store our domains? Where are we going to store our models and all? So there's what we call core, right? We have the API, we have the layer called core. So core, let me just create it out. Everything that has to do with the domain logic where you want to keep your models, you put that in the core. Core has to do with the domain part of the application, right? So we put that here. We don't put that here. So by doing this, we are following the clean architecture and separation of concern logic. Okay? Don't worry, everything will make sense as we progress. All right. Then database, yeah, database layer and all that I usually create this. I give my name infrastructure. You can read up on it. We are reading clean architecture. You just, when you research, you would see how they structure theirs. So for keeping their database logic, they usually create infrastructure folder that stores all those things there. So which is what I want to do now. So I'm going to create another layer, call it infrastructure. So this will handle my database. This will handle my domain and the logic, application logic, business logic. That's what we call business logic, right? This will handle my API calls, where a REST request is coming into the backend. It first of all comes to this API, where the API will now send the request to the business logic to process everything. Then if it needs to go to the database from the core, it goes to the infrastructure, saves it to the database, or maybe gets an information from the database back to the core, and from the core back to the API, and from the API send the response back to the client. Don't worry, it will all make
Oh.
sense when we do more practice. Okay, are we good?
So please, can you
Sure.
explain the infrastructure again?
Okay. I said infrastructure, right? We need to, we would need a database to store information, right?
Yes,
So where we'll be handling those database logic would be under infrastructure. Just take note of that for now, right?
yes,
When we go into database logic, everything about database will be inside this infrastructure. Just know that for now. Then everything about business logic and domain will be inside the core. Okay? Then everything about test, implementation, testing cases, and all will be inside the test folder. Then everything about handling requests from the front end will be in our APIs, right?
yes.
Okay, just Okay, yeah, all right. So let's start with the API. This was what came, this is the boiler template that came with us using the ESP. Okay, Samuel, go ahead.
Okay, for that, though with what you explained right now, that means
Okay.
going further, we can still break the folders down, because looking at
Yes,
some
yes. We'll
yeah,
break it down. Yes.
okay, thank you.
Yes, we'll break it down. All right. So this is the template that came when we choose to use ASP.NET Web API. So it came with this template. So I'm going to start from this. This template is more like, okay, you are using this template. So .NET, C# or Visual Studio have given you a template to just use to practice and test things out, right? Okay. So inside this template, the first thing we have our weather forecast. This is just for testing. This is what came when we installed our ASP.NET for Web API. So it came with the class that will help us to do our.
Please, can you zoom in your
Okay,
visual?
all right. Is it better now?
Yeah, yes, okay.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's
Yes.
okay.
All right. So this is a class. It came with a class, a redefined class. We have the weather forecast with the various properties, the date, the temperature, temperature in Celsius, temperature, Fahrenheit, and summary. So this is what came with the ASP.NET Web API when we installed that. But in the normal sense, like following standard practice, it is not good to have our domain or model. Let me in this. Our domain or model in the APIs, right? So everything about domain or models should be where? Where should it be? Under the core, right? But this is for practice purpose. That is why they did it like this, so that you can just go ahead and test it out. And then from there, after you've understood how everything is working fine, then you go ahead to refactor. And by refactoring, I mean try to clean your code and follow standard practice. Okay. All right. So that is the class there. Then if you move over to the all these are to test your endpoint. Yeah, your endpoints. I do barely use this. I use more of Postman to do my testing. So you'll not bother about this. But if you want to know how this works, you can read about it. Okay. But I don't use that much. And let's go to the program.cs. Yeah, this program.cs contains the template, the boiler templates that would enable our code to run when we finally run the code. It's going to run. So I'm going to start from the beginning, okay, which is the builder web application dot create builder. So think of this now. Just think of this as setting up your project, right? Setting up your project and all. So this is the first thing you see when you are using this web API. So this is more like setting it up, setting your project up. It's creating the builder for it. Okay. So after it has set it up, there are services that helps us to if I want to use some kind of services in my application, let's say I want to use database in my services, C# or Visual Studio provides the builder, provides services inside the builder. Like I told you, builder is a class, and inside builder we have various methods, right? We have different methods and properties, right? Okay. So we have the services. Services helps us to add the things we need in our project. So now I want to add controllers. I will explain about this control. I will explain controllers later on. Okay. So this is adding controllers to our project. Sorry, let me go and off this stuff. I forgot to off it. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. So adding controllers means we want the controller to handle requests. If this is not here, who can tell me what will happen? Like if you remember what I said about controller web API, okay, I've not talked about APIs, but who can tell me what will happen if I remove that part? No, I've not talked about it. Okay, Samuel, go ahead.
I think if the controller service is not there, we will not be able to make use of the controllers class that we have in our project. It will not give us the opportunity to make use of the controller class.
Okay, and also anything that has to do with requests from the front end, we can't process anything because we have not added the service that helps to process the request from the client or from the front end. Are we good? So we just need to add the service there. Okay. Then moving forward, we have the endpoint API Explorer. All this, we can see that in, and for those who would want to go maybe research more, you can always read the documentation, ASP.NET Core Web API. Coming. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So this is the documentation. If you want to go in depth into how everything works, right? You can actually do that here. So how I do mine is maybe, let me just show you how I study anyways. Let's say I'm using this for the first time and I want to know what this controllers does. These controllers, I just come here. Then where is that search here? I just search on add controllers. It tells me the various concepts in controllers. What's new in this ASP.NET Core Web API? So I just search on it. Then it now provides me with a documentation of what it does, right? A summary of what the add controller does, which is this. Are we good? Just helping us to understand better. Okay. So as a programmer, you need to have the habit, the skill of reading documentations. It helps a lot, and not just watching YouTube videos, because YouTube videos, they won't tell you everything. That's the downside of watching YouTube videos. They won't tell you everything. So if you want to know more, you find everything in the documentation. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, so that's for that. That's for the add controller. Then if you want to know more about this endpoint API Explorer, you just come here, search for it, and it shows you what it is. Okay, so let's look for the one that tells us that. So there are different definitions about it. You can just go and check it out and read up about it. So basically what that does, it tries to get the endpoint, like for front end now, front end is calling, let's say they want to create a user, and for you to create a user, you need to call the endpoint, maybe user slash maybe HTTP. I don't want to. Who has idea of it? Let me before I confuse somebody now. Endpoint. Steve, do you know what an endpoint is? Should have
Yes,
talked about Steve.
my
Eh?
endpoint is my endpoint
Okay,
is a route. Yes.
exactly. It's a route. Okay, let me, who else will I ask? So why I lost somebody now? The gift. You
Sir?
know what an endpoint is?
No, sir.
Okay, I know. Let me go. Let me just do a simple explanation of it.
An endpoint is actually a route that connects to a particular resource in a server. That's
Yes, yes,
basically what
yes.
an endpoint is.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just do a small explanation because of gift. Who else doesn't know endpoint aside the gift? Or is it only the gift? All right, Marianne Abdul Salam. Okay. All right, that's fine. So basically an endpoint or a route is we have the APIs and we have the client, right? So we have, let's say this is the API level and we have the client, right? The client wants to create a user, right? The client wants to get or maybe update a user. Okay, the client wants to do these things, two things: create user and update user. Now, because the client would want to create a user and update a user, the backend or the API, the backend will have to prepare the route for the client to send that request. And how do they prepare the route? They just prepare that by setting up the route. Maybe they can decide to call the route HTTP slash create user. So this route is responsible for handling requests pertaining to what? Create user request. Are we following?
Yes.
Then we have another route called HTTP slash update user. So this route is responsible for handling requests pertaining to updating user. So if the client is sending a request for creating user, it goes to this route because the backend has set up as defined the route that handles any request that has to do with creating a user. Okay,
Yes.
are you following? Then for updates, there is a route for that. Now, what if the client wants to handle, maybe the client wants to block a user? Yes, block a user. If there is no route or endpoint for that, and the client is sending a request that blocks a user, if they don't see the endpoint for that, it's going to return a response saying route
That's
not
fine.
found. Do you get?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a simple as an overview of what happens behind the hood. Okay. So endpoint or route has to do with this setting up the route and oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So this helps us to tell the kind of request that is coming and how it's going to channel it to the various routes, right? You can
Yes.
read up about it, okay? Because me, if you want to check how it's doing that too, you can go ahead and check how it's doing that too. But wow, how based on because of how do I put it now? Okay, someone tells you what this is doing. Now you know how it's doing that. It's left for you to go and study more. Like, how is this doing it? Yeah, it's more of you taking more time to research and do more study or research on how is it connecting them together? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Then Swagger Gen has to do with we'll be using, they are different as a backend developer, right? Assuming I'm a backend developer, I have no skills. I do not know front end. I do not know how to do things in the front end. So maybe I'm giving a project to build a tax management application. And when I mean building a project, building a tax management app, I was given a task to build APIs, strictly APIs for my backend. Now, I've finished building the APIs. Everything is ready, but there is a challenge, and that challenge is, how do I test my APIs, right? How am I going to test my APIs? So assuming there's no front end here. Let me clean this up. So this is purely backend. You are the backend developer here. This endpoint is for creating user. This one is for updating user. This one is for blocking user. This one is for getting user info. Now I have finished building all these endpoint or routes. Now the challenge is there is no front end to tell if actually this API is working. Do you get?
Yes.
Great. So because of that, we are kind of stuck. And how am I going to test my APIs? So that is why we have frameworks. There are different frameworks that helps a backend developer test their APIs. The popular ones is the Swagger. We have the Postman. Yeah, you can read up about it. But for this class, we'll be using Swagger for our testing. Okay, so Swagger is a library or framework that helps us test our APIs still on the back end, because Swagger is like our front end UI, a mocked front end UI that helps to test our API. Now, the reason why we need to test our API is because after building, right, and the front end decides to consume, you'll be working solo. Maybe you might work as a backend developer, you might work as a front end developer. So if you're working as purely backend, right, and front end consumes your API. After consuming, they notice that there is an issue with your API. It will not make sense. It's not really cool when your API is having issues, right? So that's why as a backend developer, every API you build, you have to test it. Make sure it is working fine before you now tell the front end to consume it. Do you get that?
Yes.
Okay, any question? I've not even gone foul. Okay. All right. That's fine. So add Swagger generate gen. Also, because we'll be using Swagger to test, so we need to add that service to our project. Now, after adding the various service, the next thing is called build, right? So what does this build do? What does it do? It's more like it has set up, it has added the various services now. Now this is going to build the var app equal to builder.build. Now it's going to build all the service that has been added. Okay. Now this other next line of code, we have a condition now that says if the environment, if this is development, right? So there are two things in when we are building our backend APIs. We have the development and we have production. Development is tailored towards solo. Let's say you are testing, you are working, you are testing your backend logic and all. You're testing your backend logic, you're testing your APIs to make sure everything is working fine. But production has to do with is you are no longer testing it. Everything is live. People are using it, right? That's the difference between production and development. So this is saying if this is development, if the environment is development, right? What should happen? Run your Swagger and test it, right? If this is the development mode, then run it and run your Swagger mode and test it. If it is not in development, it means it's in production. It means this line will not execute because it is not in development. And where we set our environment, there's a place we set the environment to tell if it's is in production or in development. We do those settings here. I'll talk more about this later. The app settings.json. Let me just finish this program.cs. Okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
the next one is the HTTPS redirection. So this forces secure HTTPS. So for every, maybe there was an issue, it just helps to redirect the API calls to the various routes and all. Okay. Then authorization, like, have you heard of the word authorization before?
Yes.
All right. So, okay. What's the difference between Gift? What's the difference between authentication? Gift, have you heard authentication before?
Yes, I've heard it. Yes.
All right. So what's the difference between authentication and authorization? Okay, tell me, what is authentication?
Okay. It's my own understanding. Oh,
Mm,
I is kind of what's like someone logging into what
no, just
trying
use
to
example. Don't worry.
okay. Maybe like I'm logging into a system to
Mm,
perform a specific task, like being authenticated that I have my account with that particular system.
mm, okay. All right. So okay, let me just diagrammatically explain that. Who else want to try?
Let me try to explain on
Okay.
my own aspect. Authentication is more like, okay, when I try to sign in as a user, unless on Facebook. So the aspect of getting my username and password is the place of, okay, looking at, is this ID correlating with the password? Are they actually in database? That's place of authentication. Why authorization is the aspect of, okay, this user, what is this user have access to in this application? So the aspect of checking the username and the password is the authentication aspect, while the authorization is giving access to the user to have some access to features in the application.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Deligwe, you want to try? Deligwe, you're raising your hands.
I guess you have said almost everything. So, but there's really confusion between.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I said someone said almost.
Your
There's usually
network.
confusion between,
Okay, go ahead.
and there's usually between,
Your network, your
and
voice. Yeah, I can hear you now, though your voice is not that clear. But are you saying anything now?
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you a bit.
Recording in progress.
Go ahead.
You can hear me clearly now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I say so. Samuel have said almost everything, and yes, there's usually confusion between authorization and authentication. So
Yeah.
authentication is like, in my own language, I would say know your user. Yes, to know the user in particular. Then
Okay.
authorization is what aspect of the application does this user have authority to access, kind of. And also in the status code, you might also get confused between authentication and authorization. So if you're unauthenticated, it usually returns 401 saying unauthorized. So
I think it's even more confusion when you get to status code. It's really saying unauthorized for
Okay.
someone that is unauthenticated and forbidding resource for someone that is unauthorized. So that is 403 and 401.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's your spoken well. I know no say I get senior devs for this class, so hey. All right. So yeah, thank you guys. I've said it well. So to illustrate that, so assuming this is my application, inside this application, I have a section that if you want to know all the users, maybe get all the users information, this is a section, or maybe you want to be able to block a user. This is another section. Block user, that's a section. Maybe inside this application, we have update a user, right? Update a user. So we have three sections inside this application. Now, you are the user, right? You are the user that wants to use this application. Are we following?
Yes.
Great. So for you to use this application, for you to even enter into the application, right? They
Yes.
have the programmer or the developer has actually protected this app, right? Meaning, since it is protected, you can't access it until you are authenticated. Do you get? And
Yes.
for you to be authenticated, you have to submit your details. Maybe if the application needs your username and password, you have to submit that. And when you submit that, you now gain access to the application. Now, you have entered the applications. You are seeing different layers. We have the user information, you have the block user, and you have the update user. Now, how does that authorization works? Authorization works with this now. If as a user, you can't, authorization means you are using the application, but you are not allowed to um use some features of the app. Do you get? Like, what do I mean by features? I mean, block user is a feature, right? You are using the app, fine, but you can't access this block user feature because it's strictly, it's authorized. Like, you can't do that except maybe the admin of the application allows you to access this feature. Do you get?
Yes. So does it mean that the person that just sign up is just a normal user?
Yeah, a normal user. Yes, you sign up, start using the application, right? You are allowed to some features. Maybe you are allowed to this feature. Maybe you are allowed to this feature, but you are not allowed here because this is authorized. You need to be authorized to use this feature. And who authorized you is the admin of the application. It's just like the tax management app, the tax management app. So when creating a project, only the admin, let's say you wrote the program saying to you, only the admin should create a project for the users to start creating their own tax. So since this is the app now, this is another feature that is called project creation, right? Now you are signing in as a normal user. You won't be able to create a project because you are not authorized to do that, except the admin authorize you. And how would they authorize you? By just maybe changing your role, because you are signing in as a user. As you sign in now, your role is what? User. So if the only way the admin would allow you to create a project is if they change your role from user to what? Admin. Do you get?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's just a simple, that's the flow of how it works. Okay.
Okay. So does it mean that you can have different admin? Like what?
You can have more than one admin, yes.
Okay, but there must be a particular admin that is handling the whole system.
There must be one admin. Yeah, there must be an admin. Yeah, however you do it, there must be one admin. Yeah.
So does the person need to log in?
The admin.
The
So
main.
how I do it when I'm building software, when I build software, after building the software, I create a user in the backend. I manually do that in the backend by setting the email and password. I do everything at the backend. So the user or the consumer now or the customer now using the software, I just need to give the customer, since that customer will be the admin, meaning that customer don't need to sign in, because I will give the customer the admin details to use and log in. You get?
Okay, so that means it will be kind of
Yeah, I'll just store everything in a database. Yes. People do, there are different ways to managing that. You can actually do it in a way that the first person that signs up automatically becomes the admin. Then anyone that signs again will get default user role. So there are different ways to doing that.
Okay, sir.
Is there a whole lot?
Lots.
Okay, just take your time. Yeah, it's no rush. Just take your time, one step at a time. Hmm? So I have the so app use authorization is just saying use authorization in this project. Then map controllers. This is like mapping different controllers to the respective endpoints and all. Then run app.run is running the program. So this is the last bus stop. So
Please,
that's hello.
what was the user HTTP redirection?
So this helps to redirect different calls, different API calls to the respective requests and all. That's what it does. Use HTTPS redirection. You can always research more on that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So that's it about programs. I was thinking I'm going to run this program. Let's see how that would go. So after the program, okay, I've talked about the class. This is the class. This is the program. Next thing is the app settings.json. So if the gifts, this is your first time of doing programming, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine. All right. So this app settings now is more of it holds sensitive, it's kind of holds some kind of sensitive information and all. Yeah, it holds sensitive information. So let's say I want to store my okay, before I come to that, okay, let me just do everything at once. So informations
Don't
like
be part one, so it's confusing.
sorry,
So is this place is confusing, oh.
don't worry. I'm just telling you what this file does. You don't need to bother yourself about this.
Okay.
Yeah, this file app setting.json. So there are times you would want to let's say you are handling authentication, right? So, and
Yes.
since you are handling authentication, there are what we call token. Some tokens you would need to store. That token can be used to create more tokens to validate a user, right? So there are some important or sensitive information that will not make sense if you store them openly here. You know, because this stuff now, we are definitely going to host it. We would push it to GitHub to store it to the cloud, right? This is exposed. This is everyone is seeing this, right? So
Okay.
I would not want sensitive informations. We store that here. But for those who are more familiar with front end, like maybe Node.js, where there's what we call env.env, right?
Okay, sir.
For who is a Node.js developer here, or maybe front end person?
That doesn't mean that this app setting is not pushing with the other ones to Git.
It's actually pushing, but you won't see. Don't worry. When I push everything, when I push it to GitHub, I'll show you that first.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So for Node.js, they would not see something like this app settings or JSON, but what they do there is they use .env, right? So .env is a file that holds or stores some sensitive information that you would not want to expose to the public. Okay, so these app settings in C# is what it's still similar to that .env.
But so if you store those sensitive information to this app setting, how you will now call it to the main program.cs?
This is local to you. Only you can have it. I don't want okay, you've not used GitHub before, so I understand. Don't worry, when I push everything to GitHub, it will all make sense, okay?
So no, sir, you did not get me. I say, like, if you store those sensitive information here,
Yeah,
then how will
I
you now
can
call
access
it?
it from my program. Yeah, I
How will
can
you access?
access it here. I
Okay.
can access it here. When we reach that time,
Oh.
I'll show you how to do that. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. You remind me of myself when in the olden days when I started programming. They asked question, eh? Jesus. Okay, well done. That's nice. So that's it with the app settings, the JSON. So let's go over to the next, which is okay. I'll come to that. So launch settings dot JSON now. So this is holding the different routes. Yeah, the different routes. So when you run the program, by default, it's running on this. It's going to run on this URL HTTP. So let's assume you have a VS Code, right? That is containing your front-end logic, and you want to communicate with the backend. You want to call the backend URL. What you would submit is one of these. You would have to submit one of these to the front end. The front end will be using this to communicate with your backend server. Don't worry, this will not, you might get confused with this,
Yes.
but as we progress, don't worry, when we start testing it out, it will make sense. Okay. Right?
Okay.
Yep. So next is our okay, I've talked about dependencies where we have different packages. We install NuGet packages for our application. Okay, I'll talk about that later. Then controllers, yeah, exactly. Great. So this is our controller. This controller now holds this is what will be responsible for handling the request from the backend, right? Everything would have to go through this controller. Okay. So I'm building a task management application that have just 5 basic models or entities. I have the user, the project, the to-do tasks, the comments, maybe comments and labels and all. So for every of those entities, you would need to create a controller for each of those entities. So what you are seeing here now is one, and let me expand this, is one controller for one of the entity that has been created for you. So we have the weather forecast entity. And for every entity you define or create, you must create a controller for it, because it is through that controller the request from the front end is going to pass through that controller, then processes the necessary logic. Okay, don't worry, everything will make sense. I'm just giving
Wait.
an
Um.
overview.
So wait.
All right.
This weather forecast, I thought you said that the code is where the everything concerning the entity is supposed to be, like the data, anything that has to do with the database table supposed to be in the
Mm,
code.
mm-hmm.
But
This
why
is
is the weather
request.
forecast? Eh?
This is the request. This is controller that is handling the request from the front end.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a template, right? This is a template that comes when you are using ASP.NET Core, right? So
Yeah.
except, okay, maybe this is what I will do now. This is what I'm going to do. Let me, um, I'm going to cut this now and write everything from scratch, right? Which will make sense now. Hmm? Let me just write
Yes.
that one from scratch first. Okay. So I have the namespace here. I have the tax management dot controllers here. I have my entity called, let me split this into two. Split this into two. So this is my entity here. For every entity, like I said, for every entity you create, there should be a controller. When you hear of controller, what comes to your mind? You are trying to create the route that will handle requests and send response to your client. Are we all following?
Yes, but so which one is the separation of consign?
All right. Everything we are doing here is still in the API. This is the API. It's still
Oh,
the API. Everything we are doing here is the API. This is it. Everything is inside this API. Our program.cs is inside this API because it is what is going to run our program. So because it's running the program, it's still inside this API. That the main thing that is handling requests from the front end is the controller. Do you get?
yes.
Yeah. So if I have 10 entities or 10 models here, if I have 10 models here in my project, it means I have to have 10 controllers for each of those models because project is an entity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because project is an entity, I need to create a controller for the project because the front-end users would need to create a project, right?
Yes.
That is why I need to create a controller for the project because it's going to follow that CRUD operation implementation. Any entity that follows the CRUD operation implementation, we have to create a controller for it. Do you get?
Yes. But so what about the weather forecast?
Yeah, this is the weather forecast that came, which is this entity here. This is the entity here.
Yes,
Now,
okay.
you say what? Go
You were
ahead.
saying that it's not they not supposed to be inside the
Yeah, that's
API.
what I'm saying. If you heard me from the beginning, I said when you use ASP.NET Web AI, it comes with a predefined template. It comes with a boilerplate just to help you understand the flow.
Yes.
So
Okay.
everything is not going to follow that clean architecture. It's just for you to test it up, test it out, and understand how everything is working fine. Then
Yeah.
once you understand the flow, you can now refactor,
Okay,
right?
so
You
yes.
know the meaning of refactor now?
To restructuring the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, restructure and to clean your code following the defined architecture. Okay, but for now, this is not following the architecture
Okay.
because we have our class inside the API, which is not supposed to be so, but it is there because we want to test it out,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that is that. Sorry, everyone. I hope I remember then when I've undergone different training. So there are times when um the teacher or the lecturer is spending so much time trying to explain ABCD to some of us, and it will become boring. And it all because of somewhere them and co. So you guys should just pardon me, yeah? Mm. Okay. All right. But they give to you can go ahead and ask, so Biko, ask, right?
Yes, if I have
Even
question, I will
after,
ask.
but there would be some of your question that I will probably not answer. Because the reason I'm not going to answer is because you have to write it down and go and research. Do you get?
Yes.
It's just to help you research and
Yeah.
know more, okay?
Oh,
All right, thanks. So this is my class, and for every entity you create, and knowing fully well that that entity would follow, was going to, there would be CRUD operations for that. We have to create the controller for that entity. And how do we do that? First of all, this is the namespace. This namespace is the controller namespace. I would create a class. Now, okay, let's do this now. How do I create? Let me remove this. Don't worry, let me remove this first. So that will show us how to create controllers even without doing this. Let me delete this. Okay. So it's empty now. So I want to create a controller for this weather class. What I just need to do is I come to the folder, I right click, then I come here, then go to controller, add, from add, come here to controller, then from controller, I'll choose the different, how I want it to appear. So I have the common, which is the API. There are APIs, there are controllers for different frameworks, right? We have the Blazor, the MVC that has to do with the front end, or then we have the result pages, which you can always check that out. But for now, we are using the APIs, right? So with this API, I have the API controller empty. If I want to create this controller using the empty, like nothing should be there. It should just come in clean, or I want to create it with the some template that would come along with it. So these are them. But since I want to make it empty, because I'm starting from scratch, I'll go with this one. Are we all following?
yes.
Okay. I'll choose this. Then I have to give it a name. Now, this is very important, right? Every controller you create, it has a suffix at the end of, let's say you are giving this, you are giving the name, because it has to tally with your entity. It has to tally with your model name. So your model name is what? Weather forecast, right? So therefore your controller would be what? Weather forecast. Then at the end of it, you have to give it a suffix, controller. I'll tell you why. They just know that now. I'm going to tell you why when we run the code. Are we all following?
Yes.
Great. So who is saying something?
No, I said yes.
Okay, thanks. So every controller you create would have a suffix controller at the end. So if I'm creating a project controller, it's going to be what? Project, then at the end, controller. Do we get that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So weather focus controller, which is this. All right. So this thing you would need to practice. So it's a whole lot that you need to practice. Yeah. It's a whole lot. I would not cover everything. That's why I'll just leave it. You leave it out so you guys just practice it out. Just test things out. Okay. So this is what came with the class, the weather forecast. class and all. So I have this. All these things you see here is just telling you that this is not spelled properly, spelling error, focus is not a word. So if you're assuming you want to name it, right, you don't just come here and name it. You have to go to the file, then double click, then change the name in here, focus, and everything is going to be corrected here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the usefulness of this, it came with routes and API controller. Without this now, if I remove this attribute now, all those are attributes that tells that the difference between this class, right? This is a normal class. This is a normal class, but when these attributes are there, sorry, when these attributes are there, it's saying this is actually not a normal class, but it is actually a controller class. So this is telling C# that this is a controller class, so that when you are running it, C# will definitely build this and run this. So if it comes to this namespace, it checks these attributes. If it sees that this is actually, if it sees these two things, the route, which is setting up the route for the controller, and the API controller, which is an attribute that tells that this controller is a control, this class is a controller, then C# would know that this is a controller class because of these attributes. Do you get?
Yes.
Is it confusing?
Yes.
Don't worry, it will make sense. Just for you to go and watch the video. Am I fast?
No, we're not fast though. Yeah. I'm taking it.
Okay, let me check my student too. Abdul, how far? Everybody be quiet. Abdul, Deligwe, Emmanuel, are we on track? Okay. Isaac, I'm doing roll call. Oh. Let me know who those people that are sleeping and eating in my class. Emmanuel is eating fried rice now. I can see him. He switched on his video call. Isaac, Marian Abate, Marian Uba. Hey, Samuel. Hope we are good.
Yes, sir, we are good.
Okay. All right, now let's proceed. Okay. Right, so that's that, right? This route now is setting up the route. So the front end wants to create a weather forecast, right? So
Yes.
if this is not here, if this is not here, it's going to return. It's more like it's just when I was explaining about that, you set up your APIs, then the front end is calling the different APIs. And if the API is not there, it's going to return a response saying route not found, right?
Yes.
So that route not found, there are factors that contribute to that route not found. So one of the factors is you are building it and you forgot to add the route here, right? So you forgot to do that. And when you have structured your controller class and you don't put that route, and the front end is trying to send a request to the route that you have not explicitly put there, it's going to return saying the route is not found because you didn't put this here. Do you get that?
Yes.
Right. So this API stroke controller is more like saying this is going to call API stroke weather forecast. You see everything out when I run the code. Don't worry, everything will make sense when I run the code. So
Oh,
that's for the route, right? The next thing is the API controller. This is telling that this is a controller class. Now this controller is inheriting from the controller base, which has some additional features. So let's go into those into the parent class to know more about what is there. So go to implementation. All right. Dun. Go to definition. All right. So this is let me bring this here. So we have these various members. These are the members of the controller base, right? So it comes with so many properties, methods, and that would help you to send response, that will help you to process the request and all. This is as a result of this parent attributes, parent member class, where we have the empty result, route, HTTP response, request, context. It comes with a lot, right? Just for you to, I have not used everything. I've not used all because most of the projects I've worked on is just tied to 2 or 3 or 4 of this out of 1,000. So it's possible you would not use everything. You use the one you need, right? Do you get?
Yes, sir. Is this auto-generate, sir?
Hmm?
Is this code, is it auto-generate?
Is
Like
it
Visual
what?
Studio? Is it auto-generate?
No, it came with Visual Studio. Now, when you install Visual Studio and all, it comes with all this, the control, it comes with everything. So it's inbuilt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So we have everything. Yeah. So if I were you, I could just, if you have the time, can just go and check each of them, what they do. Oh, so that's that for it. So now I have the class. The next thing is to, there is no database, right? I don't have a database yet. So I want to use, I'm going to use an array to store in the different datas that I will be using for this project, right? Since there is no database for now, I would use data structures like maybe list or arrays to store them. So I want to use an array for that. So how am I going to write that? So I have the private static read only, then string. So this is going to store strings of lists, right? Then summaries equal to new, Now it's telling me to define, wait, something is wrong. Let's see what is wrong. No bet, avoid unnecessary zero length. Okay. Now, assuming I don't want to, when I talked about the arrays, like I need to define the numbers of items here. You remember, it's
Yes.
tied to a number. Or if I don't want to do that, I just explicitly write out the initialize it with the different list and all. So how am I going to do that? So I just call in the, okay. All right. So I have the first one, which is, let me come here and see if I can save that stuff here so that we just get it coming. Hold on, guys. Coming. Okay.
Can you add another folder?
Now I want to add a class. Then all those stuff that were there, I just want to put them back. So we just test it out. Okay.
Okay.
Let me just call it test. Okay. All right. right, so this is what I want to just add here. So I just want you to add this to here. Okay. So these are the summaries here. I'm just writing them. Then so I have this here. I have the summaries. This is a weather forecast that contains the different possible result of a particular weather, right? So we have freezing result, blazing, chilling, cool, mild, warm, and all. So this is what this private. Who can tell me why we have privates here? No, not Samuel. Nah. Who else? Who else? No, not Deligwe. Hey, Marian Abate. Marian Abate. Yeah. Okay. Marian Uba, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we have private there, so that cannot be accessed outside the
Outside, yeah.
class.
There's no need for it to be accessed outside. Everything it's going to be used within the class. Okay, thank you. So I have this static to remain. It's more for this, right? Then read only, you just need to get, but you can't set values for it. All right, so this is the summaries properties. Then we'd have one for okay, you just have that. We don't need this for now. This later will explain about this. Once we test everything out, I'll bring this so that we see what this does. Okay,
Okay. Because I want to
what?
ask about the iLogger dependency
No,
injection though.
it's for, okay, let me bring it in first so that you see. All right, let me bring it in
Okay.
so that you see when we run it. Okay. So, and because we are importing it, we are bringing it in, we have to, and it will be used in the code. We have to initialize it in our constructor. Okay. So this is the constructor. I would call in the class, the data type, which is this. This is the data type. This is just like your normal string data type. So the data type of this underscore iLogger is what? iLogger. Who can tell me what is this concept? Angle, weather forecast. What concept is this?
List.
Eh?
No.
Generic.
Exactly, generics. You were in the class last week now, right? The gift.
Yes.
You know, we talked about generics. Did you go
Yes.
back to read all about it?
Mm-mm.
It's risky. Oh. Okay. Oh. I'm just saying. All right, let me just reserve my comment. So that's the data type. Yeah. Then we call in.
Sir,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry for
No
diverting a
wahala,
little
no
bit.
wahala.
About this iLogger, I know that this dependency injection, and
Yes.
I do make use of it, but in layman language, like, can you break it down? Why are we always using it, and
It's for,
why is it
okay,
so
okay.
important? Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll put it, and when I run it, you'll see it. Don't worry. When I put it and
Okay.
run it. So the usefulness of it is you run it, and when you run it, what comes is your terminal, right?
Yes.
The terminal is the one that is going to be displaying those logger information
Okay.
that you see there. Yeah. It's just to help the developer know what is happening and debug. Do you get?
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
it works like your console.writeline.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it does. All right, let me just put it there. Then the first method we have is this. Let me bring this in. First, let me bring this one. Wait, this is the function, yeah? This is the function. You just bring them in. So this is it now. We have this function. Okay, I'll close it. I don't need this again. Thank you. So I have this function. What this function does is trying to get all the it's trying to get all the focus, all the weather focus, right? Weather focus information. Okay. So it's getting from range 1 enumerable dot range. It starts from 1 to 5. More like, don't worry, everything will make sense when I run it so that we just see what is happening. Then we can actually debug. I usually, when I am teaching, I make use more of debug so that you see things with your own eyes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is a function which works fine. Okay, this is a function which works totally fine. We have set up, we have done the necessary, we have set up our controller, and we have also set up the function and all. Now the next thing is to run it first. Let me just run it because I needed to test. This was the goal of this class, to test everything plainly. So let me test it out.
I think you omit one thing. Oh.
Sorry?
You omit one thing,
What's that?
and that's the annotation for the get, that's HTTP get. You didn't include
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. The reason I purposely skipped that. Yeah,
Okay.
purposely skip that. So can you see my this UI? Okay, you might not see it. Let me make that visible. All right, let me make that visible. So can we see this now? Can we see this now? Can we see this now? Where is this?
Your whiteboard.
Yeah, looking for my screen. Can you see this now?
Yes.
So it's telling me fail to load API definition, errors, fetch error, response status 500. It's saying there is no getter, no function of get. That's why it's having this. That's because for every function we define, for every function, let's go to the code. For every function we implement, we need to put an attribute or a HTTP method to tell the when running it, to tell the C# that when you run this, it comes to this method. It needs to know what HTTP method this is implementing, if it is a HTTP get or post or put or delete. Do you get? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I need to define that. And how do I define it? I use my square bracket. Then since this is a get, because it's trying to get all the weather focus with their various summaries and all. So I'll be using HTTP get. Okay, let me explain about this. Okay, so we have different HTTP methods, right? The front end sends a request to the back end. With every request that comes from the front end comes with a particular HTTP method. Are we following? Hello?
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Great, great. So every request comes with a particular HTTP method, which is what you are seeing here, right? So if the request coming from the front end is to create something or to create an entity or maybe to create a project, the method that will come along that request is going to be post. Post handles anything that has to do with creation or creating a new entity and all. HTTP post. Do you get?
Yes.
Great. Then if you want to update a project, maybe you created a project with the wrong name and you want to edit it. Editing is the same thing as updating. So that request comes with HTTP method. And because you want to update, for all updates requests, we make use of put. Do you get?
Yes.
Great. Then if you want to get an information from the database or from the backend, you want to get an information, is the HTTP get, or if you want to delete an information from the database, that's a request. And the HTTP method for that is HTTP delete, right?
So,
So just, okay, go ahead.
so you need to be specifying particular one to each one we are defining.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
So now our goal is to get all the weather forecast for this. So we'll be making use of HTTP get, which is this, which is the HTTP get. Now, I've done this. Let me run this again so that you would see something. Okay. You can go and read up on this. IEnumerable is like your list of an entity. You can read up about it. What's the advantage of IEnumerable over iList or lists, so you can always research about that. Okay, let me run it. Hope I'll finish everything. All right, so we have this now. Can you see my UI? Okay, you can't see. Let
No.
me do this. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we have here. Here's what we have here. We have the weather forecast. This weather forecast now is actually this weather forecast. Yeah, before anything before the controller. If you named it weather forecast emergency, what you'll be seeing here is weather forecast emergency. So that has been handled behind the scene. Do you get?
Okay, so but
Go ahead.
okay, but now is this only the only thing that we are going to see when you run the code?
Because we have just one API call, which we have set up, which is the get, and this is the get you see here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the get you see here. Don't worry, we'll create more API, more routes. Then you see how if we have, this is just one function, which is this what you see here. So if I'm performing a create operation, that's another function, right?
Yes.
Meaning if I run it, I will be saying two routes or two endpoints, they get and they create. That is how it works, right?
Yes.
So that's just it. Now, we have the get. This gets because we are using this gets here.
Yes.
Great. /API/weather forecast. How come about this is because of this. It's actually taking the API, this API. That's why I said, had it been this was not there, this will not exist. You get?
Yes.
Great. So we have the API, which is this API / this is controller. The reason you are not seeing the controller is this is working dynamically. This would dynamically tell the controller of this class. And what's the controller of this class? It's what? Weather forecast.
Yes.
And that's why we see weather forecast here. So had it been this was a project class, what we'll be seeing here is API/project. Do we get it?
Yes.
I hope it's not confusing.
Now, so the response, like this one, they wrote code description.
Don't worry yourself. Don't worry about this for now. Just don't worry yourself about this one. Just one step at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll explain that later. Okay. So that's for that. This get now is because this is HTTP get. Had it been, it was HTTP post. What you see here is post,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
I hope we are all following.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now, after doing that, the next thing is, how am I going to test it now? Now I have a knowledge of what this does. This is. I want to test it. I want to start testing it out. So this is where we see try it out. You just have to try it out. You click here to try it out. Once you do that, you see a button that says execute. Let me just put a breakpoint here so that it doesn't just run completely. All right. So once I click execute, what happens is it's going to come here. It's going to come straight. See the endpoint, see the breakpoints here. Can you see this?
Yes.
It's going to come here and all right. It's going to come here and run everything here. So I'm going to run it now. So run everything here. And once it's done, it goes here to initialize their respective value. So we have the date, we have the temperature. You don't need to bother about all this stuff, but just understand what's happening. It's doing it 5 times because of the range from 1 to 5. So once it does that, it gives you a response. This is what I want to show you now. So the request, what was the request? It wants to go to the backend, to the database. And because we don't have a database, we are kind of mocking the database. This is like our database. Do you get?
Yes.
So it goes
Yes.
to the controller, processes everything. Then after processing it, it returns a response. And what is that response? What you see here. So what this is doing here is more like returning the date, right? Then the temperature. This date now, this date you see here, let me bring it here, is this date here. Date only dot from date time. It's a function in the date only. So it's more like telling you where the range of date where it wants it to fall, right? From this so date to another date. That's what this code is doing, all right? Then the temperature, setting the temperature, random. Random is a class that helps you to generate random values, right? Random values. So for temperature C, we have this, okay? Then for temperature F, we have 75 and so this is just returning the information from the backend, okay? This might be confusing, so let's just use our own example. Let me just use an example to explain. Let's just use create. Let's create, our class is almost done. Let's just create an endpoint that handles create, just that, okay? So that it will all make sense. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you, sir.
All right, so we are going to create a weather forecast. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So we can do something like, I don't want to use this again. I don't want to use this again. Let me remove this first. I don't want to use that again. I'll use something different now. Okay. Yeah. I don't want to use this. Let's use something different. I'll just do create first. Then on Thursday, we'll do more practice on this Okay. I have a private static. Then I want to have a database mock that will just store in the weather forecast, yeah, of the program. All right. Private static list. I want to use a list this time. List of what? Weather forecast. Then forecast equal to new list of weather forecast. Then I give it a value, some values, new weather forecast, then ID. Right, there's no ID in my forecast. What I'm doing here is I'm initializing the forecast using the list, and I'm giving it I want to initialize it with a value. And this is how we do that. If I don't want to use the constructor, this is another way to initialize values without using the constructors. Do we get that? Hello?
I
Are we tired?
not really.
Are we tired?
I
Is it
can't.
too much?
So after adding the ID, but it's showing it's flagging error.
That's because we don't have ID yet, so we need to come here and define the ID for. And we can use int ID, then get
Yes.
and set. All right, because we want to set it. So by doing that now, if I come here and want to use ID, it's going to work, right? Are we good? So we have the
Yes.
ID. You want to give it index 1. Then we want to initialize the date. Maybe use date equal to date only. We can use date only dot from date time. We can use from date time returns the date only instance that is set to the date part of the specific fake date time. I want to get the time, like the time. If you check this now, where is this stuff? It's giving, if I don't use this from date time, it's going to give me the it's going to give me the date, and it's going to give me the time, and it's going to give me some information that I don't need. Do you get? But I want it to just give me the date time, which is this, the year, the month, and the day. That's why I'm using this. Can you hear me? All right,
Yes.
I'll soon end. So once I
No, I want to
just,
understand these dates because of this error.
that's because it's a method. It's having, because it's a method that needs to take what? Date time. It's taking in a parameter. That's why it's flagging it. It's a method. So I need to just introduce an argument for it, which is what? Date time dot now. Why did I use date time dot now? Date time dot now. Why am I using date time dot now?
Because it's going to set the actual date.
Now, right?
Yes.
Which is
Yes.
now. Then comma, what else? I need to give it the temperature C, which is this one. Temperature C, set it to, let's say, 25. If I use string, it's going to give me error. Why?
Because it's set in the data type is int, not string.
Okay, thank you. So 25. Then summary. Summary is you can just say this weather is warm. Right? The weather is warm. So that's it for that. So whenever you run the program, whenever you run this, it's going to automatically initialize this with this value and all. Okay,
Yes.
Okay,
great.
I want to ask a question though.
All right, go
When
ahead.
you are declaring your forecast, there is no read only there. Is it not always a custom for we to add read only whenever we are declaring like something data inside our class?
We can use read only. Yeah, we can use
Okay,
read only. Yes, we can use read only. We want to.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think that is that. So we have set our own database. So whenever we run this program, we would have in this database, which is the list one data, which is what we have initialized here. Are we going? Are we good to go?
Yes, I have just one.
Go ahead.
Any question, but let me ask one first. So I concern this I logger. I think somebody asked question.
Don't worry about that for now. Don't worry about. Don't worry about. Let's just understand this first before this is just for debugging. Let's just understand this one first. Okay?
Yes.
Let's just understand that first before we do that logger stuff. That will be in our next class. All right, so we have this now. So I want to create a method that will get all the weather. Hey, somewhere you don't write for my screen. I will flog you. Okay. All right. So this is for this is the all right, this is the constructor. Now I need to endpoint for get all weather forecast. So how do I do that? First of all, define the public enumerable. Told you to check up this. Time weather forecast gets all. Then so once you do that, because I want to return all the weather forecast, all I just need to do is return this, calling the field which was defined here. So I want to return this. So once this is like saying go in here and return all the data here to the UI, which you will see. Do we get? So that's for the get all. But this will not work until we explicitly say this is what of method. What method would this be?
Get.
All right, this will be get, which is what we have here. Now let's create another one for create. Let's create another one for create. Or let's create another one for create. Time. Sorry, guys. Which is post. No, which is HTTP post. Sorry, it will soon end. Okay. Public I action, because we want to return the kind of response that will show in the front end in the response. Yes. I action result create so this will require me to explain more, and I'm trying not to overshoot our time. So let me just implement get and delete, which are those two straightforward stuff, get and delete. Let me just implement get and delete first. Let me implement get and delete first. All right. Let me implement get and delete. So to delete, I need an ID. I don't want to waste more time. So this is now going to return, what is it going to return? It calls the database name. Then there's a method called, this method now has, there's a method, this class now, this list comes with a method remove. If I want to remove an item from the list, I make use of remove. Do we get that? Hello? Sorry, we'll
Yes,
soon
sir.
end. We'll soon
Yes.
finish. No vex, I beg. All right. So focus.remove, then passing the ID. Yeah. Then finish. Then after doing that, I just need to call in. All right, delete what's happening here. Argument cannot convert from int to weather forecast. Okay, that's because of this. All right, let me use iAction. All right, action results. Okay, so iAction results tries to focus int.
Are you not going to wrap it?
Hmm?
Are you not supposed to wrap it?
Wrap it in what?
Like this, the weather forecast, like the way it was done.
No, I don't need to wrap that one. Don't worry. Now, how this delete works is this now. These are that concept on its own. Especially when you are trying to delete an item from the database or a list, you have to check if that item exists first before you delete. Do you get?
Yes.
So you don't just go ahead and delete. You need to check first if the item exists. And how do we check that? We have to, first of all, create a variable that would go and tell if that item exists or not. Okay.
Yes.
So we have var focus equal to focus dot, there's what we call first or default. So first or default returns the first element of a sequence. This is what you'll be using in most of your delete operation, right? First of all, you want to check if that entity exists before you go ahead and delete it. So first or default helps us do that. For a default value, the sequence contains no element. So first or default. So this is taking in, this is going to take in a lambda expression, which is going to be, this is a lambda expression. Don't worry, I'll explain this in our next class. So I'll explain this in our next class. Just want to finish this up, equal to ID. So it's going to check if this exists. I'm trying to finish up this class. Then let's see the data type of this. This is a weather forecast data type. So if I don't want to use var, I can use weather forecast, which still works fine, right? Because the name is kind of long, and I mean, for long names like this, I just prefer to use var. Do you get?
Yes.
Mhm. Gradually, we are understanding that var. So now I've created a variable that would go to the database to check if this is equal to if this is equal to this. It returns a boolean, which is yes or no, right? Which is
Yes.
it has a data. So if sorry guys, I'm supposed to end this class. If focus is no, if focus is no, what should happen? If there is no data, what does that mean? It means the ID you want to delete doesn't exist. Do you get? Hello?
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So,
if it doesn't exist, it means the data doesn't exist, and because it doesn't exist, there is what we call not found. Not found. This not found is as a result of what we are using here. This I action result helps us to tailor our response. There are different response in our I action results data type or class. If you go into it, you see what the different methods does. So assuming there is no data, you're trying to delete something and there was no data, it's none, right? You just return not found. I know. Okay,
Yes.
great. Sorry, I will soon finish. Now, return means by me returning this, is any line below this, is it going to execute as you mean this was executed?
no.
No.
Great, okay, thank you. So because this did not run, it means there is data already. So we just need to
Yes.
call in what forecast dot remove. And what are we removing? We are removing the forecast here. We are removing this forecast here. And we need to return no content. Maybe we need to return no content. Let me just use no content. So this no content is more like create a no content result object that produce an empty status code 204 no content. Like if you don't want to send a status code of any this thing, you can just put no content. Or I will still explain this in our next class. I just want to show us HTTP get and HTTP delete. Okay. So we have
Yes.
two endpoint get and delete. So let me run this. Oof, it's a whole lot, man. Are you sure I'm going to even reach the authentication? These 3 weeks. We might be having five classes in a week. Oh, all right. Can you see my UI?
Not yet.
Okay. This 613. So this is it now. I have the get. Can you see it now?
Yes.
I have the get and I have the delete, which is what you see here. Your get, which is this, your delete, which is this, right?
Yes.
Are we following? Now I want to get all that is inside this now. Once I get now, it's going to show me this data. One is going to show me just one data because initially I have just one data. So if I run this, I have just one data here, which is this. You get it now.
Yes.
One, it tallies warm, which is the warm, temperature C, temperature F, 76. The reason why this is 76, it's calculating it from the property, right? From the property, temperature F is gotten from the calculation of temperature C. This is how they do it here. That's why. Okay.
Okay, so I have question now.
All right.
So does it mean that this, like when you run it now, this is what we will
Mm,
see?
yes, this is what we see when you are trying to get all the focus. This is the response you get. Yes. Status 200, which is successful. This is what you get. Hmm?
Okay, so what about when the front end wants to implement like
Mm.
in
Why
the
are you bothering yourself about front end? Eh? You want to do front end?
I'm just asking, sir. I'm just asking.
The front end is I can answer you, but it's going to I'm see if I'm talking outside my scope, right? I
Okay,
can maybe we
don't
can
worry.
have a class, a
Oh,
private class after now, then I explain some things how the front end consumes this. Okay. But because of time, I'm just more focused on backend implementations. Okay.
okay.
Don't worry, we can fix a class so that I explain more about the front end. It's not that I can do
All
that.
right, then. All
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
Okay. And because of time, that's why. So I have this. Now I want to delete this. I want to delete this. Right. So for me to delete this, it's telling me to submit the ID of this. Right. So what if I submitted ID 10? Is there any ID 10 in the database currently? See,
No,
okay. So if I want to delete ID 10 now, what happens is, let me put breakpoints here and I run it. It will come here. It's going to check. It's going to check now. Focus, does this exist? It's now returning no. And because this is no, it's going to return not
not
found,
found.
which is this. See it here. Type. Don't need to bother yourself about this. This is the title, not found, telling the front end that this data you are trying to delete was not found. And this is the status code for it, 400. And don't need to bother yourself about this. Two important things is the title and the status, right? Now I want to delete it. ID1. This ID1 exists, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to delete it. You just need to test it out. It makes sense when you test it out. So there is information here. That ID1 now is giving me this information. And because this is not no, this will not run, but this will run and go ahead and delete it. And by doing that, it's going to say 204. All right, 204 means it's successful. No content because you're not seeing any contents here. But if I try to get all information now, if I try to get all, it's going to return empty data. Why?
Because there is no
Because
input.
there is no input. Do you get? Now,
Yes.
what we'll be doing on Thursday is we need to create endpoint 4. There's no endpoint to add to this. I can't be coming to my front end to my back end to be doing this now. I have to create an endpoint for the front end to add data into this list. Do you get now?
No.
Eh?
No.
What do I have now? I have get and delete. What is
Delete. Yes.
missing? Among the CRUD
Oh,
operations, what is delete? What is remaining?
It's
post.
post.
Which is the create, right?
Yes. Yes.
And what again?
View.
Put. View. What is view? View from where? Put now. Put is
It's put.
update. Eh?
Update.
Yeah, you are tired, I understand. So let's just end there. On Thursday, we'll continue with the other operations, okay? So
So I
I'll
want to
just,
say,
sorry, go
no, I
ahead.
want to say something. Like you were saying 3 weeks, and I wanted to say, is it possible to be doing the class like 3 times in a week?
No, what I'm saying, like the way this is going, it's they are expecting me to finish everything within 3, 4 weeks. That's the whole of August, and we never even authentication. That one is going to really take our time. So, anyway, let's
I
see
think
how it
that's
goes.
why
Eh?
I think that's why she's suggesting maybe we should cast a vote on that. Maybe we can have 3 classes in a week. I think that's what she's saying.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I will discuss with IK and I'll get what he might say. If it no agree, sha, but let's see how it goes now. Hmm?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a whole lot though. Backend is a whole lot. Like at these 3 months, not enough. But we just have to try and cover the basic. Yeah. All
Yes,
right now. So on Thursday we will finish the other crude operations and do more things. Okay, Emmanuel, yeah, go ahead.
Actually, sir, my question is really not related to. It's related to this what we are doing, but
Okay,
something I
okay,
want
go
to
ahead.
ask like outside. Okay, so I'm working. I'm currently working on a task. I wasn't really paying attention to the class because I'm currently at work, so I was kind of like doing both at the same time. So but it's related to endpoints, anyways. I'm integrating
Okay,
an endpoint that was created by the backend engineers. The
yes.
endpoint is basically to fetch
Okay, you are a
a
front
list.
end, right?
Yeah, I'm a front-end engineer,
Okay,
front-end developer. So
okay.
the endpoint is basically to fetch a list of users and then display them
Yes,
on the
yes,
table. Okay,
yes,
now I've successfully integrated the endpoints. The users are
yes.
displayed on the table,
Yeah,
but then the users only appear, or should I say the endpoints is only successfully integrated on the first render. Once I refresh, then I start getting a 401 status code. And I really can't like when I check the
okay.
network tab
Mm,
and on the first render, the authorization token is available. But then on the second render, it vanishes. And from my knowledge, the logic behind the storage of the authorization token has already been handled. So it's like a global thing. So any front-end engineer that is integrating any endpoint, the authorization token is always going to be generated automatically.
okay,
So now I can't
okay.
really tell what the issue is.
Okay, you are currently having that issue right now, right?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
then
currently I've been struggling
let's
with it all day.
we can connect by 9. Let's connect by 9 now, tonight.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay,
just
sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, all
All right,
right.
sir. Thank you very much.
maybe he's trying to throw something.
Okay, that's fine. All right now. No wahala now. All right. Thanks, guys. Sorry for overshooting our time. Biko, no vex.
No, we are
All right.
not
See
tired.
you all.
Not
Eh?
tired.
You're
No,
not tired though.
it's the rule. It's the rule in KodeCamp. Oh. We are trying as
Yes,
much as possible
I
not to
get,
pursue
I
our
get.
students. Yeah.
You know, okay.
Also, because now that
Now
there's